Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chaz Dunwoody. I'm the area sales director for Silversea Cruises, and I'm thrilled that you were all able to join us this afternoon in person. I do apologize that I'm not there, but hopefully this video will suffice in kind of taking you down the path of who Silversea Cruise is, how we've set the standard for luxury cruising and expanded exponentially over the last 20 plus years. So Silversea really sets itself apart in terms of the luxury sector. So we travel deeper and more immersively than anybody else in cruising. And how we do that is on a fantastic luxury platform of ships from anywhere from 100 to 720 guests with one-to-one crew-to-guest ratio, butler service for all, completely all-inclusive. But we want to make sure you're getting more in touch with the destination than any other cruise line possible. And how we do that is bringing our ships into city centers, creating amazing expedition destinations, setting up our own infrastructure with a luxury platform, and staying in port for longer than any other cruise line out in the world as well too. This next image really kind of sums up how Silversea really differentiates itself. Is a lot of us have been to London before, potentially even on a cruise, maybe stopping in Southampton and Dover and Falmouth. But then you're taking a motor coach to the middle of a city center, whereas on Silver Winds, on all of our smaller ships, you'll either be sailing under Tower Bridge in London or be docked at Greenwich. So when you get off the ship and you're overnightting here for 2 nights, you can walk to Parliament, you can walk to Victoria Station, you can go to Tower of London, and then use the ship as your comfortable platform throughout your trip. When you get back on board, I mentioned everything is included, so you don't have to worry about any additional expenses as well. And truly Silversea is the destination leader in cruising. It's kind of ironic that a travel company would say, oh, we travel to places, but this is a huge number that Silversea visits, over 900 individual ports of call every year. The next closest competitor on the luxury sector only visits about 300. So it's only almost triple the amount of destinations than any other cruise line in the world is offering right now, operating anywhere from 11 ships. We are vastly expanding as well too, as we'll talk about more in a minute here. So these destinations represent really a global portfolio that's unrivaled anywhere else. Our number one product from the Calgary area is always going to be Europe. We're there as early as March and as late as January. So if anybody's looking for some unique travel plans, we do have cruises that are round trip Athens over Christmas for the next 3 years in a row. But then we have amazingly exotic destinations like going to the Kimberleys in Australia, Antarctica, East Africa, the Seychelles, Alaska, and the Galapagos Islands being our number 2 destination from Calgary as well. So what sets Silversea apart in a luxury sector and even from a cruise ship's comparison is our platform. Silversea is the original luxury cruise line. We started in 1994 with 1 ship. We've expanded to 11 now, and we've stuck to these brand principles throughout our entire history of our company. So our average ship size is about 600 passengers. On that same size ship tonnage of about 40,000 tons, other cruise lines are putting 1,300 guests on that same size ship. So what it represents and how we separate ourselves is our service on board and our space on board too. With that being said, you're never going to have to wait in line for a restaurant. You never have to worry about getting a deck chair, getting into the spa, or any restaurants on board, just because there's so much space and ample opportunity for everybody to experience everything to their liking at their time and at their leisure as well. We have a one-to-one crew-to-guest ratio. And putting that in perspective, so I came from a long history of cruising in my family. And my first time on Silversea was about 6 years ago. And I was reading a book by the pool, and I actually jumped in the pool when I was there. And I had left my sunglasses on my table poolside. And as I'm in the pool, the gentleman who brought me a cocktail somehow picked my sunglasses up and then put them back down. I thought it was a little funky. What he was actually doing was he picked them up, wiped them down with a microfiber cloth, put the microfiber cloth down, but left a note that says, "Welcome to Silversea." So that's included on every single ship, every single destination we go to. And that was just the start. From there, there's personalized service all throughout the ship. In your suites, it's all suites on board. 93% of our rooms have verandas as well too. Fully customized bar as you get there. 9 different pillows to choose from. If anybody enjoys taking a bath, all of our suites offer baths on our classic brand, and about 93% of them, 90% on the Expedition brand as well. And we're all suites on board, no interior rooms whatsoever. And having a suite really kind of separates us that way, just because the entry-level category and the top-level category on our ships get the same amount of service on board, which is kind of summed up in this slide right here, our door-to-door service. So during COVID, we really wanted to re-energize our brand and really separate ourselves, just because there can be a sea of sameness in the luxury sector of how you can separate yourselves from one of our competitors is this product. So your cost and your price on a Silversea cruise is the exact same. You will not come home with a bill. You don't, all your payments are upfront unless you want to do above and beyond experiences while in port, which we'll talk about here in a moment. So we include an all-inclusive package from every major gateway in Canada. So Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, and Toronto. What we do is we pick you up from your home with black car service to start your trip, whisk you to the airport. We then include economy airfare. We have amazing business class specials. I mentioned Europe being our #1 product. Our European business class upgrades are $9.99 Canadian each way. So it's business class round trip for less than $2,000 Canadian. And we sell fully in Canadian dollars as well, too. So you don't have to worry about fluctuation in exchange. And we're generally priced at $1.25 to $1.30 for the exchange rate in every single one of our sailings as well, too. Pre-night hotel stays included, transfers included, luggage handling included. Then when you get on board, it's truly seamless as well, too. Checking in for a Silversea trip is very different than any other cruise line out there. Using Canada Place Pier as the example, generally you would have to maneuver through about thousands of people to get on the ship, go through your check-in line, then on the ship. How a Silversea trip works, we actually meet you at the outside of the pier. We check your passport, and then we whisk you right onto the ship. From there, you're greeted with a glass of champagne. Your butler then brings you to the check-in area, and then you check in right away. Your suite will be ready as you get on the ship, so you don't have to go up to the Lido deck and do that dance with your carry-on luggage as you do with other cruise lines. But then everything on board is included. So your room key is truly that. It's only to get in and out of your suite. So we include your shore excursions, your food, your gratuities, your Wi-Fi, your butler service, and all of your premium cocktails, wines, spirits, beers, coffees, teas as well. Expanding upon the shore excursions, we have 6 to 8 excursions that are included in every single port of call you'll go to. But obviously, there's certain destinations that have amazing once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Using Alaska as the example, let's say you wanted to take a helicopter and land on the Mendenhall Glacier in Juneau. There is an additional charge for that, but we actually net out the included cost of that trip of so our included shore excursions are right around $150 to $175 a person. So we net that out, and then you pay the difference that way. So it's actually a great process on board if you're looking to do a usually amazing experience that way. From there, everything's included on board, so you don't walk home with a bar bill. You don't walk home with gratuities. You don't have to worry about how you're tipping, who's picking up a tab somewhere. And really, the great thing with the all-inclusivity of our brand, it creates this synergy on board where everything is extremely social. So we only source about 55% of our guests from the North American marketplace, just because Silversea is based in Monaco. We are part of the Royal Caribbean brand. They purchased Silversea in January of 2020. And speaking frankly, thank God that they did, because they've influxed a massive amount of capital into our product and also pretty much saved us from going under during COVID, as we are now a publicly traded company. From there, we have offices in Monaco, London, Frankfurt, Miami, Singapore, Sydney, and Hong Kong. So it's a truly global product where you meet amazing people on board, just because, as I mentioned, the entry-level suite and the top-level suite all get the same amount of service on board. For example, I just got off the Silver Dawn in Europe this summer, and I actually met a nuclear physicist from Abu Dhabi who helped build the power grid for the Emirates. So amazing experiences. I met the former owner of Everton Soccer Club. So it's really incredible the people you get to meet on board on your Silversea adventures that way. I mentioned we have 11 ships in our fleet. So we started with one ship in 1994, Silver Cloud. So she's been refurbished to be one of the top expedition ships in the world. But we really have a ship size for everyone, going from the Galapagos, where we only have 100 passengers on board, all the way up to our new ship, Silver Nova, which has the highest space-to-guest ratio in cruising. There are ships that are going to be 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and 700 people, roughly, on every single one of our destinations. And that really makes a difference when you're going to certain ports of call where you can only get in with a smaller ship. You'll always be in a city center, and we are aggressively expanding, as luxury is the fastest growing piece in cruising right now. So on our ships as well, on top of the space and the service and everything we offer, we have a wide array of culinary options. Obviously, food and travel really are kind of melded into one. So on our ships of 600 passengers, there's 8 full-service restaurants and 24-hour dining service. So, sorry, 24-hour in-suite dining. So there's 9 choices to choose from. Sometimes you have more dining venues than days on board. Highlighting a few of these, La Terrazza is Italian for the terrace. So we were formerly held as an Italian company from a Roman family that owns Sitmar Cruises, sold that to P&O, and that's how Silversea actually was started. So that's, and La Terrazza, I mentioned, is our Italian restaurant where it's alfresco dining outside and also inside. So what I'd really recommend for any first timers on Silversea, book for first dining experience at La Terrazza outside on sail away, just because there's very few cruise lines that have an aft facing restaurant. So as you're departing your initial port of call, let's say it's London or anywhere in the world that has a scenic sail away, you get to do this during dinner outside. It's extremely unique and different. As an Italian company, we make all our own pastas, sauces, and gelato on board daily. I highly recommend the pistachio gelato. I generally have it about 6 to 8 times on board every time I'm on board ship as well. The grill transforms into a casual poolside venue to what's called hot rocks at night. So this is offered on every single one of our vessels, including in Antarctica, the Galapagos, everywhere that you can imagine. We actually bring a lava stone to your table setting, where you get to grill local favorites like filet mignon, tiger prawns, lobster tails on a hot rock at your table setting outside in a casual setting. It's extremely unique. And also try our pizza on board. Our Italian heritage comes through with this amazing experience on board. But during COVID, we really kind of looked at our culinary program. We wanted to make sure that we were doing stuff that wasn't available to any other cruise lines. And what we've developed is this new program called SALT. It's not a high sodium diet. It's actually going to stand for sea and land tasting. What we promise here is to have the most organic culinary experience you can have at sea. And how we do that is we source all of our products locally from every port of call we go to. Previously, lots of cruise lines can always promise you're going to eat the local food from where you're going, but they generally buy food on a 21-day cycle. So it's impossible to deliver on this product unless you're sourcing locally. So what we do for this 3-pronged approach on board, there's the Salt Kitchen, Salt Bar, and the Salt Lab. The Salt Kitchen is our largest venue at sea. I use a trip from Barcelona to Rome as the example. So there's 2 menus in the Salt Kitchen every single day. There's the terrain menu, which is kind of like your all-star menu. So if let's using that same cruise as the example, you'll have bronzino, cacio e pepe, mule frites, so on and so forth, the Mediterranean favorites that everybody knows and loves. But then let's say you go to Livorno, Sète, Villefranche, Elba. During the cruise, there will be a port menu from Livorno, from those individual portions to then produce their local specialties in that venue. So it's a great opportunity to eat your way through your trip. And also for those clientele who are a little bit gun shy about trying new food, you now have a comfortable venue to do this that's included in the cost of your trip. The Salt Bar then will also have cocktails that rotate throughout the trip. So sangria-based cocktails in Barcelona, pastisses in France, grappa in the Roman destinations. But then the Salt Lab is my favorite destination here. So it's our first interactive cooking studio. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And then when you get off ship, you have amazing experiences like this.
We like to travel, we like to go different places, but having one place to go, unpacking one time, and then having the world kind of presented to you, we couldn't get better than that.
It's been a voyage of discovery and a tremendous pleasure.
Great food is always more than what's just happening on the plate. It's about the stories behind it, it's about the people who make it, grow it.
You feel like you're going off to where people really are living and experiencing, their life on the island.
I want to give the chance to my visitors to taste the cheese and the yogurt that I have used to eat.
It's not just any one thing. It's the shore experience. It's the adventures we're having on land. It's about bringing that food culture and those experiences back on board. And together they really form this wonderful ecosystem of culinary curiosity.
It appealed to me because I was getting to know Greece that perhaps I hadn't known before, I hadn't heard of.
Getting a little bit of the local flavor and learning more about where we are.
This is my life. It's not a story. This is my life.
One of the really exciting things about being on board Silver Moon is seeing how salt lives on board the ship. It's about bringing that food culture and those experiences back on board. We've loved getting to know Greece, diving into the different cultures and traditions of the islands. And the best thing is we're just getting started.
So that video really depicts how the program has been received. It debuted on Silver Moon in June of 2020, and now has expanded to Silver Dawn this year, and also will be on our new ship, Silver Nova. And the ship, it's been an absolute home run every single destination we've done this in. The SALT program is averaging a 9.87 out of 10 on every single cruise we've operated this ship on. So, like I said, it's an amazing experience for any of my food lovers out there. It's really a great way to go about the trip. So we also, I mentioned, really trying to innovate. And Silversea, like I mentioned, is now part of the Royal Caribbean brands. So we're actually moving our shipyard from Fincantieri in Italy to Meyerwerft in Germany to take advantage of all the technology aspects that can be offered by the Royal Caribbean brands. And the newest innovation that Silversea is going to be offering is our new ship, Silver Nova and Silver Ray. And what makes it so special is how the ship is created. So it's 728 guests of a ship size of 55,000 tons. You're almost looking at 2,000 people on that same size ship. But the reason it's so large, it's the first hybrid electric luxury cruise ship ever. So it's 40% less emissions in greenhouse gases than the greenest ship sailing right now, 25% more emissions in the water. And then when we come into port, we actually plug into the ship, into the port's power grid, and go carbon neutral with zero emissions coming out of the ship. So it's amazingly well done and amazingly thought out, just because sustainability is one of the best things that we are focusing on moving forward. So as the ship is built completely differently and larger than we've had, we have different opportunities to expand upon destinations and venues on board that we haven't had. So it's an expanded pool area with cabanas, pushing the pool out further into the pool deck and having awnings over the top to create more shade on board, a midship bar for the pool deck as well too, and amazing suite categories that we've never had, just because Silversea has your balcony suite and then a silver suite that generally about a 400 square foot difference in between each other. Now we'll have suites in between that same size if you wanted to upgrade to a larger vessel. And imagine seeing the world go by in this amazing bathtub here too. I mentioned the ship is built with an innovative design. So all of the structure is in the inside. So there's no beams going down the outside of the ship. So everything is floor to ceiling glass in every single destination we have on this ship. So she debuts in July of 2023, starting in Southampton, going to the Med, transatlantic, circling South America, going through the Panama Canal to then end up in Vancouver doing Alaska for 2024. So why not go to the greenest destinations in the world on one of the world's greenest ships as well. One thing we also have been seeing during post-COVID is guests traveling further and longer. Let's face it, we've been home for 3 years. We deserve to travel longer. Do it. Just get out there. It's great. So with our extended voyages, we have trips anywhere from 18 to 80 days, but we also have world cruises. Our 2025 world cruise is called Contratempo because we're going to destinations in off-season destinations that they never would visit at. You would never visit them regularly. And how that's highlighted is we started Tokyo in January, making our way all the way throughout the world, 136 nights, 59 destinations, 23 new countries with 33 overnights as well. So how Silversea also sets herself apart is we're actually chartering the first class cabin of Japan Airlines to have our SALT program on them from trips from Vancouver, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Dallas for all of you wanted to join. So you start your Silversea trip on the flight there as well. Other highlights of this too will be in Amsterdam during tulip season and really unique destinations going to Greenland up to the Arctic as well. I mentioned that starts in January of 2025. But one destination and part of our product line that I wanted to focus on today is our Expedition brand. Silversea Expeditions really has set a standard in the industry that you can meld luxury cruising and expedition cruising at the same time. There's comfortability aspects on the ship and really amazing opportunities that we separate ourselves in this sector as well too. So who's traveling on expedition? Obviously the off the beaten path guests, but a lot of the adventure seekers and wildlife enthusiasts, photographers, anybody who's involved in smaller clubs where they have hiking or kayaking as well are really fantastic. And ironically, a lot of multi-generational families. I was in the Galapagos about 4 years ago with a pair of grandparents and their grandchildren, and the interaction was incredible because it gets their kids off their phones, and it's really got an amazing trip to plan that way as well. I mentioned before, it's fully all-inclusive as well. So how we separate ourselves in this sector, you would fly into, let's use the Galapagos as the example. You fly from Calgary via Houston into Quito 2 nights pre, and have 2 nights pre the JW Marriott to stay. City tour of Quito, all your breakfasts and dinners are included. You then have flights out to the Galapagos, 7 days in the archipelago, flights back to have your 9-day package overall with your private transfers, with your included air, with everything included on board as well. So how do we really kind of how did we develop this program, and really what separated us and starting Expedition Luxury Cruising is we have 14 years of experience, unparalleled polar coverage with 3 total ships down there. We have the most expedition guides per guest of any expedition cruise line in the world. We have more Zodiacs per guest from any expedition cruise line in the world. And we have the highest food spend of any expedition cruise line too. So you're getting an amazing level of experience. Let's say you're doing a cruise to Europe and then another cruise to Antarctica in the next following year. It's the same onboard product with the amazing offboard expedition destinations that you can have with this platform. We have actually 4 ships in our lineup. Silver Origin is our first purposely built vessel under the Royal Caribbean tutelage. She's in the Galapagos. We'll talk about her more in a minute. But the biggest thing with Expedition as well is how strenuous it is. What do you do, and how can I kind of maneuver? Because I've always heard, oh, I'm worried that I'm not physically able enough. So this video kind of shows how you are boarding on and off of Zodiac. So this is my friend Rachel. You pass your gear over to the expedition leaders. You get kicked by your friend to get on the expedition ship. No, we don't do that. So you use the safety grip. You do that. Take 1 step down, take a step over, and then you scoot your way down the pontoon. So if anybody can do that, you could do an expedition cruise pretty much anywhere in the world. We also recently have expanded our expedition portfolio to purchase the Silversea Endeavor, which was previously the Crystal Endeavor. If any of you had previous deposits or payments that have not been refunded by Crystal, we will honor those payments on board Silversea on the Silversea Endeavor starting in November of 2022. We're opening up the rest of the itineraries for 23, 24, and 25 on the 27th of September. So an amazing experience that way. So she'll be starting in the Antarctic in November of this year, operating our amazing Fly Cruise program. It's called the Antarctica Bridge. Antarctica obviously is a very far destination to get to, but a lot of people don't have 2 to 3 weeks to do this. So what we've now developed is a program where you fly to Santiago, Chile. You have an overnight there. You fly then down to Punta Arenas, Chile as well. Then you have a 3-day window to fly down to the continent of Antarctica. You board the ship in King George Island to have a 6 to 8 day trip that really can maximize your same time that you would have in the peninsula on a 10-day trip, just with the flights that go over the Drake Passage. If any of you have an affinity towards motion, it's a great opportunity that way. We have 3 other sailings as well that visit this area, the 10-day. One unique aspect with Silversea is we're the only cruise line that sails out of Puerto Williams, Chile. The reason we do this is the overcrowdedness that's happening in Ushuaia. We built our own cruise pier, our own hotel, and our own actually airline routing to go from Santiago to Puerto Williams. So you're always going to be docked. You're not going to be getting on the ship via Zodiac. It's an amazing way to start your trip as well. And how does obviously Antarctica change and really kind of separate with the Silversea experience? I mentioned the size of our groups. 6 to 8 passengers in a Zodiac that can hold 16 people is a huge advantage just when you can talk to the expedition leaders and the Zodiac drivers as well. Animals are curious. They're going to come right up to you. We go into the ice as well. So this kind of shows the depiction of how our group sizes work. You get the Silversea parka that's meet you at the ship. I understand pretty much everybody here will have a parka of this nature, but there are weight restrictions and packing limits on the charter flights. So we want to make sure that you're packing light as light as you can, so the parka meets you at the ship. This is Salisbury Plain in South Georgia. This is really the ultimate trip to Antarctica. You have 18 days going to this destination that is completely untouched by humans with a million penguins in this picture right here. If you have the time, everybody, do South Georgia. It's the #1 rated expedition destination on our fleet. We also include complimentary kayaking. That's an $800 shore excursions on other expedition cruise lines as well. But I wanted to close today with a destination that is our #2 destination from Calgary, is the Galapagos. Warm weather, really fantastic times to go in the wintertime. It's only about nine days and 10 nights. Our purposely built ship, Silver Origin, is 100 passengers, 90 crew members, and 10 expedition guides. It's exact 1-to-1 crew to guest ratio. No one touches this in the Galapagos except for us. And these expedition guides are either second or third generation Galapagos guides, really kind of the best operation you can have in this area. We have 2 itineraries as well. So this is a unique aspect to Silversea, where we visit Fernandina, Isabella, and Genovesa Islands on every single one of our destinations, which allows you to see all 3 booby species and snorkel with sea lions, penguins, and turtles during your trip.
Galapagos is unique because this is one of the few places on Earth where you're actually accepted as part of their environment. These species are not running away or flying away. In certain cases, they're coming up to you. And that makes this place truly unique. Something that surprises many people is the diversity of Galapagos. Not only the terrain, which is distinct from one island to the next, but also the diversity of life. We have a unique diversity. In areas where you have reptiles such as sea turtles swimming next to penguins. There's nowhere else on Earth that you have that combination. Being a naturalist on the Silver Galapagos is not only fascinating for me because of this environment that we're traveling through, but also meeting our guests that are coming in here and seeing Galapagos through their eyes and the excitement of being able to interact with the species here. It's very personal. There's no other place like Galapagos on Earth.
So I had the opportunity to visit the Galapagos about 4 years ago, and it was absolutely life-changing. I kind of changed the whole way I look at even travel in the future. I had a baby sea lion boot me on the face, pull one of my fins off. I had a penguin swim around me and bubble fish a school of fish at the top of the water, and that happened in about an 8-minute time frame. So it's an amazing experience. Wanted to share Silver Origin with you. So this is how you get on the ship. It's always via Zodiac. You enter to our base camp area, which actually has Charles Darwin artifacts in these glass cases as well. And we have our interactive video wall here. So it actually is a mini area for lectures where you meet your expedition guide to kind of get a quick glimpse of what you're going to be seeing that day when you offboard the ship. Getting whisked away, kind of, as you can see, you would be seeing Galapagos penguins in this expedition landing. So you have a landing at 7:30 and 9:30 at one destination. You have lunch from about 11 to 1. Then you have an expedition landing at a separate destination from about 2:30 to 4. And the advantage of going on a ship of 100 passengers is there's only 100 passengers allowed at every landing site. So you have the entire landing area to yourself, and you actually get to know these people very intimately. It's amazing the level of socialization you have on these trips. Multiple dining venues on board. Our Expedition Explorers Lounge is where the lecture recaps will happen. As you can see, there's a TV screen at the very front of the room, but every individual pod actually has a TV that comes out of the armoire that shows the expedition PowerPoint as the presentation is going on. All suites on board. This is the entry-level suite. We borrow the Horizon balcony concept from one of our sister brands to include the balcony space inside your own suite as well for the entry-level category. Amazingly well-appointed, superior veranda in this destination as well. The animals, like I mentioned, are so conditioned to not being scared of humans as they come right up to you. I mentioned the baby sea lion boot me on the face. I actually had a blue-footed booby walk over my foot as I was taking a picture of it. This is the picture right here. They actually kind of see you and then get really curious just because they've never been hunted by humans before. But what I'd recommend is getting in the water as much as possible. I had 2 10-foot manta rays underneath you for 15 minutes. You'll end the trip on the second to last day with a trip to the Fausto Llerena Breeding Center for giant tortoises as well. I wanted to share a few other destinations we travel. Obviously, Galapagos and Antarctica are the big major expedition destinations. We do an amazing trip to Papua New Guinea. This is the number 3 rated destination for expedition for Silversea, just because it's a cultural aspect. You go to there's over 3,000 dialects spoken on this island. Going to the Aboriginals and the natives in this area are amazing. Going to Vanuatu during the land diving festival, the fire dancers and the mudmen are highlights this year as well. My number 1 destination I want to go to is the Kimberley in Australia, known for horizontal waterfalls and Aboriginal artwork. Extremely remote, extremely unique that way. Chilean fjords getting you down to Antarctica. And my number 2 destination I want to do is our Cape Town to Mahe trip. This can actually include a 4-day overland safari from Richards Bay up to Mozambique. You then spend 3 days in the Seychelles. Aldabra Seychelles Atoll actually has more giant tortoises on it than the Galapagos combined. But anyways, guys, it's been my pleasure speaking with you all today. Again, I apologize for not being there in person. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your travel advisors at Expedia. We are offering a special. If you guys do book in the next 2 weeks, you will save a total of $600 per person per suite, and we'll add $300 onboard credit. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for joining me this morning. This afternoon, and I hope you have a great rest of the show. Thank you.